For UAS, executing on custom installation, quality service, dependable monitoring, on-time performance, and affordable pricing have led to 5 decades of success. Just ahead, company leaders discuss reaching a milestone and what's yet to come.
Be sure to subscribe to SSI's YouTube channel. Hit the like button, share, and leave comments. Or subscribe to SSI's Security Speaking podcast on Apple and Spotify. And leave us a review. Thank you. We're here with UAS and their fantastic leadership team talking about what's new with the business here in 2022, and a lot is new. So, Scott, great to have you on the line. Could you start us off by giving us your full name, title, and just a couple of sentences of background about you in the industry, and then follow that up with the other members of your team?
Of course. Thank you, Scott. My name is Scott Elkins. I do use a middle initial of R in print. Scott Elkins. I am president of UAS. I am also CEO of Zeus Fire and Security. I started in this business 32 years ago when UAS was a small mom and pop operating in the Philadelphia tri-state area, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. I cut my bones in this industry as a member of the family that founded UAS. I cut my bone in this industry starting in 1989. In the early 90s, UAS was asked to join, at the time, SNA, or Security Network of America. Wasn't sure if we should join. So I contacted corporate counsel for UAS at the time, and now, Carl Tannenbaum, another industry veteran. And Carl told me, you absolutely should join SNA. You'll be the smallest and least sophisticated company present. You have a lot to learn. Go join. I took that to heart, joined SNA, and I consider that one of the most impactful moments, not only in my career, but in the history of UAS. We got to learn from industry legends, icons, those that have appeared on the cover of your magazine and others over the years. It gave us the ability, me and our leadership team, the ability to learn from the absolute best, to visit not only central stations, but companies throughout the United States and in Canada, and to learn what was possible, Scott, more than anything. Because when you're alone, working out of your own office, it's difficult to have perspective on what's possible in this industry. Meeting the likes of Stanley Oppenheim and Bob Boniface and Mel Mahler, and the list goes on and on. I had an opportunity to learn from the best of the best in this space, and that helped UAS grow. In fact, as I mentioned earlier, probably the single most important and impactful moment in the history of UAS.
Excellent, thanks. Who would like to go next?
Why don't we do it by tenure? So who's the most tenure? Now we've got 15 years with Chris. Rich, how long?
Cindy's got me beat.
Cindy, how long?
Over 20.
Yeah. All right, let's start with Cindy Ambrosi.
Okay, so hello, I'm Cindy Ambrosi. I'm the Director of National Accounts. I've been with the organization for more than 20 years with experience managing multiple facets of our business, including our project management team, operations. I've dabbled in quality assurance. As Director of National Accounts, it is currently my responsibility to ensure that all overarching national account needs are met in a strategic and coordinated and timely manner. So I work closely with our sales, operations, and support departments to communicate and align customer priorities, develop and manage project plans for large-scale customer initiatives, and maintain consistency throughout the footprint of each brand.
Thanks, Cindy. I think that brings us to Rich.
It does. Rich Rhodes. I have been with UAS for 19 years, 19 and a half. Cindy beat me, was hired prior to me. I've been in the industry for 36 years. I was with another local alarm company for 17. I started in 2003 with UAS in the Metro division, where we ran the local installations, service, and installations locally in the tri-state area. Then I moved into the Central Station. I was manager of the Central Station, director of Central Station for quite some time. And then I moved into operations, moved into technical service department, and now I'm back in operations.
Okay. It should be noted, Scott, it should be noted that we're big Jim Collins, the famous book author, Jim Collins. We're big Jim Collins devotees. And it's not uncommon for us to develop BHAGs, or big, hairy, audacious goals. Rich's BHAG many, many years ago was to win, at the time, CSAA, now TMA's Monitoring Center of the Year, a goal which was accomplished in 2021 as the TMA Monitoring Center of the Year. So that was Rich's BHAG, something he worked very hard for, and he dragged us along until such time as we won it. So Rich will be too humble and modest to say it, but I'll say it for him.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, Chris.
Okay, Scott, I have been with UAS only 15 years, a little over 15 years. I am the Vice President of Sales. I lead a team of approximately 10 people selling into our primary verticals of the restaurant world, quick serve restaurant world, and the equipment rental world, being our two largest verticals. I am somewhat active in the product development side of the house also, and help develop a lot of our outdoor, if you will, technology, outdoor detection technology, along with Jeff and Rich. And that's about it.
So I will also jump in where Chris is going to be too humble to add. So you should certainly add retail as a core vertical. Retail, C-store has been a core vertical over the years as well.
Sure.
One thing to note about UAS, UAS from the time it was founded in January 27th of 72 until its 50th anniversary, has grown 100% organically, without acquisition. And Chris and his team have done the growing, basically. So Chris and his team have done what others in the acquisition space would find pretty remarkable. Okay. Michelle and Jeff, I think you guys are close, right? Is it Jeff first or Michelle first? Jeff first? Okay. Jeff, you're on mute.
It's always Michelle first, whether I get to go first or not. So I'm Jeff Crowther. I am Senior Director of Technology. I've been in with UAS for a little over 11 years. First 7 years or so at UAS, I handled just our internal IT department. And about 4 years ago, my role expanded. So I now have our tech support departments, our central station, and also our IT department report up through me. So that's all I say.
So Scott, Jeff is going to be our most difficult talker on the call. He's here solely because he has to be, not because he wants to be. Is that true, Jeff?
That's 100% true. Scott promised that I would never have to speak to customers or to any journalists, so he's broken that promise.
So Scott, all kidding aside, when Jeff was hired, he was hired for an internal facing role only, which is one of the reasons why Jeff wanted the role. It would not be customer facing at all. And in the last, I'd say 7 years or so, Jeff has done almost nothing but customer facing. Customers, prospects love Jeff because he not only has incredible technical acumen, but while we all have a high level of integrity and say what we mean and ultimately do what we say, Jeff communicates that non-verbally as well as verbally in a way that resonates with customers and prospects alike. Having an IT department for one of our customers get comfortable with having our systems on their network, particularly when you're talking about a Fortune 500, it's not the easiest thing in the world to make them comfortable. And Jeff has the ability to make them comfortable in a relatively short period of time. A tremendous asset to the customer-facing team as well. Again, something Jeff would never say.
Excellent. And who's going to wrap it up for us on the intros here?
The newbie.
Hello. Yeah, I am entering in, coming close to 11 years myself as well, right behind Jeff. My name is Michelle May, Human Resources Director at UAS. Some call me the culture cheerleader. You can call me Michelle, but I was brought in to formalize the HR department policies and procedures. It seems like forever ago. Handle all the people aspects of the company, hiring, development, benefits, 401k, compliance. I can't think of that. I mean, events, you name it. Anything people related usually falls under my realm. Even if it doesn't fall under my realm, it usually ends up under me. And Scott was very happy to hand all of those over to me when I joined the company.
I was indeed. And Michelle's role, I'm sure, Scott, as you're acutely aware, Michelle's role, like all HR leaders' roles, got incredibly complicated in March of 2020. Michelle not only was responsible for human resources, but was also the school nurse, was also the psychologist, and did everything else, both in her job description and outside of her job description, to ensure that those scary and difficult days early in the pandemic were days that we could not only get through, but ultimately thrive through. And Michelle deserves a tremendous amount of credit for that.
Great. Well, thank you to everybody for those introductions. I think I got a very good sense of the camaraderie and the team element within the culture. So that was great. And you also gave me a jump start on a lot of the background of the business itself. So I appreciate that. And from a facts and figures kind of standpoint, roughly, how big is the customer base presently, and how many monitored accounts, and what are the most popular services to those customers?
Yeah, so UAS, are we back to UAS? Like, I'm trying to figure out where I'm going.
Yeah, we're talking principally about UAS here. So
okay, so generally speaking, UAS operates throughout the United States and Canada. As you know, Scott, more than most, customer counting is actually difficult. Is it count by systems? Is it count by physical locations? How do you count by any measure? We usually use about 15,000 as the count. That's a fluid number, as you know. The core services UAS provide are what we call the core four. Chris McGurk coined them FICA: fire, intrusion, CCTV or video, and access control. While UAS provides all four services on a regular basis, UAS is likely most known as a video and alarm provider, with fire and access control being two other services that UAS provides regularly, but not at the level of alarm and video.
And do you handle your own monitoring?
Yes. As I mentioned earlier, UAS owns and operates its own UL listed monitoring center. State-of-the-art, brand new monitoring center, about 6,500 square feet, and is the 2021 monitoring center of the year. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to say that again, Scott.
Yeah.
I'm not going to miss one of those.
You did say that. And about how many employees currently for UAS?
About 120.
Are there any particular internal tools that you use in terms of software or that sort of thing that help facilitate that?
Yeah. So I am as I am wont to do. I'm hogging the call here. Jeff, do you wish to hop in there with systems?
which systems we use to manage our customers. So we use Sedona Office and Manitou as our central station monitoring software. Nothing exciting to say about that, really.
And has that been in place for a long time? Have you upgraded it, or?
Yeah, so we moved to Sedona in, I think, 2016.
Right.
2016, I believe we moved to Sedona. And Manitou it was the year before that in 2015.
Yes.
I believe. So yes, previously we've been on Microsoft Navision and Sims.
Now, what are some of the principal advantages you feel that gives you?
So, the biggest advantage initially was just training new employees. The old software wasn't the easiest to make sense of. Having one platform, I guess, that we use to do the entire business, right? We do our finance out of it. We do our service and installation, manage our inventory. Just having that one platform, I think, makes things a lot easier.
And integrate with the central station.
Yeah, and they're both. They weren't when we purchased them, but now they're both owned by the same company. So it's one. I want to say throat to choke, if that's right.
We don't necessarily want to have that as a quote, but yes.
Yeah, but one place to go to for all your needs.
The goal, Scott, was simply to make the process as seamless for our employees and our customers. I mean, at the end of the day, this is all about serving customers, and the ability for anyone in our service department, installation department, sales department, IT department, any national accounts department, local business, to be able to access all the information regarding a customer or an account history, gives us the ability to simply serve customers more efficiently than we could before. And at the end of the day, this business is about taking care of customers.
Is video monitoring part of your central station offerings?
It absolutely is. Yes, and it's becoming a larger and larger piece of our monitoring. Yep.
How proactive does that get?
How proactive on our part? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, it's extremely proactive. I mean, we can't be so proactive that we can predict
Not yet.
something. However, upon detection, it is extremely proactive. The screen pops with the video. We see the person or not, or we see a dog, or we see an animal, or we see a paper or a balloon flying in the restaurant because the air conditioner went on. And we make a determination if it's a dispatchable event or not. And we, if the customer had preferred, we loop the customer in at that point if that was their preference. So it's extremely proactive, but again, not to the point where we are anticipating entries. That's a great idea, Scott. I thought about that. Maybe, hey, Jeff, we just sold one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's like in Minority Report, that movie, the precogs.
Yeah.
There you go. That's exactly right. Yeah.
We're not there yet. Yeah.
Hey, I'll get back to technology in a bit. Hopefully we'll have more time for a little more on tech, but Scott, if it's okay with you, I want to go off script for just a moment. And, the fact that you mentioned you came in 1989, and considering, where UAS is today, the skills that you needed to successfully run this type of business in, 89, the 90s compared to today, how do you think that's principally changed?
Well, the alarm industry is much more sophisticated today than it was, 30 years ago. 30 years ago, one could argue that it was easier to make money in this industry than it is today. One could argue that there were fewer competitors in this space than there are today. And one could argue that there were more strong regional family players in this space than there are today. This industry has become a popular industry for outside interests. Of course, telecoms have come in and out, cable companies have come in and out, and lots of other entities are looking at our space. And as a result, it requires a level of sophistication and growth that maybe one didn't need so much from, the early 70s until the early 90s. Today, to operate an effective business in this space, you really do need a holistic view of not only business and industry, but a holistic view of the employee experience and the customer experience as well. There's plenty of competition in this space today. And in order to succeed and excel within this space, you simply have to be, yet constantly have to be getting better. And that's one thing at UAS that we not only preach, but we actually do, which is constant training on improvement. We're able to get that training from organizations like Net1, which we've been shareholders for many years. I've been on the board of directors of Net1 for, I think, 15 years. I've been chairman for the last 12. And also organizations like TMA and others that have helped us grow.
That said, do you still feel it's a, fertile industry for new entrants and entrepreneurial spirits and that sort of thing?
I do. I think this is an incredible industry, and it's not a surprise why so many tangentially associated industries are looking at it or have looked at it or have at least tried to be part of it. But it also takes a commitment that many don't have. Despite the fact that the technology today is significantly better than it was, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, certainly 30 years ago, it's still at the end of the day is a people business, right? You still roll trucks, you still show up at customers' locations, you still interact with human beings on an everyday basis. And that component of industry won't change. Yes, we have the ability to modify programming remotely. We have the ability to do things remotely, such as programming systems that were never contemplated 30 years ago. But at the end of the day, none of that is a substitute for the customer experience.
You mentioned a little earlier about not giving away secret sauce, but maybe on this topic, it would be okay. And that is on, finding and keeping talent. It's a battle cry throughout the industry. It's gotten louder. You've known over the years yourself, Scott, and probably everyone else on this call, what a challenge it's been forever. But it just seems like it's even that much bigger. So, how are you managing through that?
Yeah. So, look, I don't think it's unique to the alarm industry or the security services industry. I think any successful business starts from people, right? We need to have great people fill the right seats in order to provide that experience that ultimately our customers will want and that will value. What's happened over the past couple of years as the hiring process has become extraordinarily difficult, much more competitive, much more difficult than before. We go back to the core blocking and tackling that is critical to ultimately hire. And then, of course, thanks to Michelle creating a work from home program for a certain sliver of our employee base. It is not only, it's a different world, right? It's now become part of who we are as an organization, part of our culture where appropriate. And Michelle certainly deserves the credit for pushing that. I was not an advocate of work from home. To say, look, everybody's laughing. I was not an advocate of work from home, but the tools we have today clearly indicate that productivity when working from home with the right department, with the right employee, for the right period of time can be very effective. Is it a forever solution? It'll certainly likely be part of UAS forever. But the questions, of course, Scott, that lots of people ask are, how do newer employees learn? They learn from more veteran employees. And is it easier to do that in person when you can kind of roll your chair back and ask a question versus hopping on a video call? I think that's yet to be determined, as yet to play out, but we're certainly paying very close attention to it because we do know that for those that love it or those that don't, it is always going to be part of our future.
Do you find that you're more willing now to hire for attitude or temperament and take on more of the training than maybe you would have in the past?
So I don't think it's more. I would say that that the Jim Collins hire for who, not what, I think has always resonated with us. If you have great people with high levels of integrity and a good work ethic, we can teach them this business. If you're a great alarm person, but you have a horrible attitude and a horrible work ethic, we can't unteach that. So we're very cognizant of hiring people for the who, more so than the what.
And how do you sell prospective employees on the UAS culture?
We haven't spent an afternoon with Jeff. Yeah. I'm going to let Michelle answer that because we talk about it from day one. When employees show up here on day one, they see it. So Michelle, why don't you walk through that?
Yeah, that's probably the easiest thing. We're like Cheers. You know, everybody knows your name. Welcome. We have an amazing culture. We tell people from day one, we're not hiring for a job, we're hiring for a career. I used to have plaques in my interview room that showed that, but now the day and age of plaques is gone. Plaques on the walls is gone. Scott doesn't like things hanging on the wall much.
except with monitors with great dashboards.
That's true. That's true. But we have an engaging culture. I mean, people that walk in for the interview say they can feel it with us. We do a lot of things for employees. We promote from within. We have a family culture and a family feel. People, when they walk in, they feel like they're walking, I say, like Cheers. You know, like they walk in and they want to be part of it. So it's pretty easy. That's easy. It's very easy when they come here and they see us and they meet us.
And then Michelle, maybe just a second on Dave and Buster's, on food trucks, on summer parties, on holidays.
The ice cream machine. I mean, come on. My kids to this day, that my kids would rather come to my work party than any other of their friends' parties. Mr. Elkins goes in and gets stuffed animals out of the machine for them. It's just, yeah, we include not just the employee, but it's a family. We mean your entire unit. Dave and Buster's, it's employee appreciation. Hopefully this year we can get back together and do it as an entire company, but we're offsite from 10 to 2. We give away our Employee of the Year awards. They're nominated by their peers. They walk away with a $1,000 check, a $750 check, and a $500 check in their hands. And they were nominated by their peers. You can't get any better than that, right? Anniversary awards as well. We do go for wear red for every different cause. We do volunteer work. The list goes on and on. Ice cream machine, which is Crowther's favorite thing that's ever come to this office. We had carnivals before in our parking lot. Pre-COVID, we did everything. Our Scott's executive assistant would transform our room in the back to a winter wonderland with Jell-O, no alcohol, but like Jell-O shots for the kids. Things on the wall that make it look like Christmas. Santa would come and visit on the fire truck. We had our first annual 5K right before COVID. Someday we'll get back to the second annual, but right now we just, there's just lots of things that we try and do for employees. We gathered backpacks for kids, and we were trying to do a volunteer stuff, backpacks for other organizations, and we found that we actually had employees here that could use a little bit of help with backpacks. So the rest of us pitched in, bought stuff, and gave away backpacks for employees that their children needed them.
Excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Only have about 10 more minutes. I'd like to try to get in 2 more questions. So see if we can make that happen. One is, what are 1 or 2 sort of leading edge technologies that you and the company are excited about, and why?
Certainly the outdoor the outdoor space is incredibly exciting, and I think creates tremendous opportunities in this space. That's one. Jeff or Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say the AI and analytics for detecting, the difference between a person and a dust storm and a balloon blowing in the wind, right? To me, that's the most exciting.
And then to take AI and AI and machine learning and BI just a step further, really to identify the types of thing that Chris talked about earlier. What's a specific need of a customer? You want to know when a product is on the shelf or not on the shelf, for restocking purposes, for us to be able to, we joked earlier about proactive, right? But for us to proactively notify a customer that they're not stocked or staffed properly is the next level of value that we can provide on existing systems.
With that, is there anything that we didn't touch on in our last 5 minutes here that you would like to say either on or off the record?
This industry has been extraordinarily, look, I grew up in this industry. It's been an extraordinarily meaningful part of my life and the lives of everyone here. And having the ability to not only serve our employees, but serve our customers as well. As UAS for the last 50 years, as Scott Elkins for the last 32 years, and to work with the people that you see on the screen here today on an everyday basis is maybe the highest honor that anybody could ask for, as well as the employees throughout the organization.
Eloquently put, Scott. Thank you for that. And thank you to everybody. And I really appreciate this time and this call. And again, congratulations to everybody. You got your act together.
Thank you, Scott. We're trying.